So back, it was about 2 years ago, coming up 2 years ago, we changed our parental leave policy, and I'll get to kind of what we changed it to, but I think the experience in that process was, there were proposed changes suggested, and it was heavily debated amongst senior leaders, and it was pushed back.
Joining us on today's episode is Martina Crowley, Managing Partner at PwC Perth, an organisation which takes a human-led, tech-powered approach, combining diverse perspectives, expertise and relationships with the right technology to solve problems and unlock opportunities. So, Martina, we know who you are and where you work, but we'd love to set the scene for our listeners and actually for Henry and I, and hear a wee bit more about who is Martina Crowley.
Oh, great. Thanks, Ash. Not too many people ask me that question, but here we go. And so, like you, Ash, I'm originally from Ireland. I've still got the great Irish lyrical accent.
Pretty
I'll never let it go. My husband is also from Ireland. His name is Chris. We've got two beautiful kids, two Aussie kids, who do a pretty good Irish accent when needed. So I grew up in a place in Ireland called Cork, and my mum is from a dairy farm originally, so I spent lots of my childhood there, with animals and, cows, horses, pigs, chickens, gorgeous. Lots of, really in nature. And I think today I really still, I crave for that and, really love animals. I've got a dog called Rory. It's Nice. And we love this little fella so much. I'm from a family of 6 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm number 5 of 6. And so I often say to people, it's why I'm so loud, right? In order to be heard. In those formative years, it was, it was critical that I had a place there, and I used my voice for that. It's interesting. Look, as a child who is Martina. In my early childhood, I tended to have leadership type positions presented to me at quite an early age, whether it was the person at our Holy Communion, doing kind of some critical, important roles in that, from the church perspective, and then to kind of in my late, coming through high school, being the head girl, as I'm not really seeking that out, but it was something that kind of seemed to happen.
Okay.
Which was really good, and I think that's continued throughout my career actually, but probably in a bit more of a planned way, because we'll get to it. Because I think you do need to take opportunities when they're presented to you and create your own bit of luck in that. Yeah. So I came to Perth in, a long time, 1995. So coming on 30 years. Love Australia. We love the lifestyle.
Agreed.
It really is the lucky country, and it's been tremendous for me and my family. My sister also lives here, and I've got nieces and nephews.
Did she follow you, or
she followed me? And my husband Chris has got some of his first cousins here in Perth.
Setting the trends,
we've got a great community. Yeah, which I think is important for your success in life, and having a community of people that are that know you and your heritage, and I think that's been part of, I think, the reason we've always felt so settled here in Perth. We do go home, Ash. We go home often. I go to see my mum and Chris's parents and brothers and sisters, touch base, get that cup full, and off we go again. I love to travel. That's something else about me. I love to travel.
Favorite place?
Favorite place? We did an amazing trip around South America.
Oh, nice.
Walked the Inca Trail.
Oh, stop.
And, in like not glamping,
Yeah.
it was, hardcore. And that as far as a life experience, that was incredible. You get to Machu Picchu and what happened. I love Brazil. I thought Brazil was awesome. So, I will definitely go back there one day. Love Europe. I think Europe's awesome as well. So, I hopefully I've instilled that same interest in travel that Chris and I have in our kids. Yeah.
I'm sure.
They've come on a few nice family holidays.
That's awesome. I love that. I want to do more travel myself as well. But I'm like, we'll see what the rest of this year, next year kind of looks like.
Yeah.
And kind of like trying to foresee what, next year is going to bring. What is the landscape really that you see for gender equity and how it is right now? And what do you see kind of in the future for that?
Oh, yeah. But where it is right now.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe look at, I'm a managing partner of PwC. It's definitely front of mind right now, particularly at PwC, and has been for quite a while, Henry, as well. I think we've probably commenced that journey in a more deliberate way almost 10 years ago, right? So it was around 2015. There was a strategy built around how do we focus on gender equity and the gender biases that, existed in our industry, right? And more broadly across many other industries, and how we, get more equality and get more senior female leaders into important roles where our junior members of team could look up and go, I can.
Yeah.
Can't see.
And building that equity within the system.
Be this person.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, it's that focus. I think look on it from a PwC perspective, and also for many of our clients. Developing out a diversity and inclusion strategy has been really important, and putting in some measurable items, along the way, whether it's how people are offered positions, expressions of interest, rather than tapping somebody on the shoulder. I think those types of initiatives have changed. Flexible working has, I think, changed the whole landscape, right? So that I know when I started work, I worked at Arthur Andersen, and there was not one female partner when I started at Arthur Andersen here in Perth.
Wow.
And now I think when you look at professional services, that's just not acceptable business practice, right? And how we've evolved over that period. And we need to keep the momentum. Got a lot of work still to do.
Still keep the foot on the gas.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
I think as we look forward, we're doing things like pay transparency sessions, with all of our people. I think a lot of organisations should do that. It gives people the opportunity to ask questions about how their pay is determined from a gender perspective, a diversity, cultural diversity perspective, and that's been really good. As we go forward, I think there are some challenges in how we look at AI, for example. I think AI will be amazing. It will change the way, we've got a thing called Chat PwC, right? And we can just type into it, like, draft me an email to invite a client to an event, and it will give that to me in seconds, right? And then we can tailor that to what we need, but we're not spending our time doing that. Where I think some of the AI, we just need to be really careful, is around gender bias and the language we use, and really checking for the hallucinations and things like that can happen. Like if you're advertising a position for a senior executive, the language you use and how you can kind of eliminate candidates because it might be more towards a male, like the descriptor is more male than female. So I think the AI is something that we definitely need to watch out for. And then, look, we're sitting here doing a podcast, and I do think there are influencers globally that we also need to keep an eye on as we go forward around, anti-feminism, the anti-gender equality, and, ensuring that our young people are encouraged to, question that, speak up, have a voice against things that, if they're uncomfortable with some of the social media aspects around that. So I think there's just a couple of things there that I think as we go forward, we just need to be careful as a human race, right, about how we address that. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And so you kind of mentioned, and I think it says on the website, you're quite public about some amazing statistics you have around gender equity. So I'd love to ask, is there a particular initiative or policy that you rolled out at PwC which has helped to drive that, and if so, can you share a little bit more and what lessons others can learn from it?
I'll probably talk about one, not that we've ruled out but we've brought in because I was personally involved in that, and it's probably one of my proudest moments.
Nice.
As far as being an executive, but also around how we are going to help families and really the gender equity and ensuring that we embed that into the organisation. So back, it was about 2 years ago, coming up 2 years ago, we changed our parental leave policy, and I'll get to kind of what we changed it to, but I think the experience in that process was there were proposed changes suggested, and it was heavily debated amongst senior leaders, and it was pushed back for more information, right? So we presented a position, and then it was, we just need more information. We want to make sure that this is going to have the impact it needed. So more work was required, and then back to, the CEO to approve, and ultimately our governance board to approve, which they did. And what we changed in that parental leave policy was we moved from 18 weeks to 26 weeks paid parental leave, but we took the gender out of that, right? So
nice.
we didn't so that we are encouraging males and females to take parental leave. There's no qualifying times. So if somebody joins as a full-time member of our staff, they can enjoy having, paid parental leave. And they can do that over, they can take their parental leave over a 2-year period as well. So I think that's really good. You might have, a more traditional family, maybe a husband and wife or your same-sex family, and where, one parent can take their leave and then the next parent can take the leave up until the child is 2 years old. So I think that's been amazing. We've offered that not only for birthing parents, but if you adopt a child, and and other family circumstances. So that's been a really great change. We will pay superannuation on for if somebody takes for up to 12 months
Yeah.
of when people are taking leave. So they get 26 paid weeks of leave, but 12 months of superannuation. And the purpose behind that, Henry, was we know that women, when they get to retirement, have less superannuation. That's factually, on average, that's factually supported. And we know that more women end up homeless, right? So we're really trying to make sure that, women are protected, as they go through their years, because what we're seeing now as the evidence of not having sufficient superannuation. So for me, that I feel really proud. We're now seeing a lot more males taking parental leave. We've the biases and the stigma that was attached to that have broken down. So it's really, really, really great to see that. And people sharing their experiences about what their parental leave was like, the challenges with the rewards, and people come back and they say, "Oh my God, thank you." I had it's so important for me to be with my children, and you can get that. We talk a lot about work-life balance, but that's a real case of seeing that in action. Yeah. So that's
cool.
one for me
That's really
that I'm
cool.
really proud of. It did cost, coming back to the economics of it, which I think is important for people that are listening to our podcast, right? So I would encourage any organisation looking to do that to run the cost of that, and cost not just in a dollar perspective but how you retain your talent, how you get a higher level of engagement with your people when you offer more support to them in that really critical time of life. With the dollar side of things, we found that it did cost, but the actual benefit when you
so much
run
more.
that through over a longer period, you just get multiples back. So so really good. So really, we're really proud of that.
That's awesome.
And we're seeing more people, more organizations and more executive teams make those decisions as well. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you chose that example because, it's one of our big passion areas at CEOs for gender equity is getting more men's engagement in parenting and care and responsibilities, because it's all connected. There's this big push to get more women in leadership. But how can we do that if we're still doing the unfair, share of the parenting and, unpaid domestic work as well? So I love that that's the example that you've chosen. I want to hear that is amazing, right? And but like you said, good from a business perspective as well. But what's been the impact? What stories are you hearing, from this? It just must be so rewarding.
I feel the stories. People come back to work feeling still more engaged. They share the stories out on LinkedIn, right? We had an amazing senior manager who went on his parental leave, and after when he came back, he wrote a really and not all the took to the kids to the park and all roses and fairy tales. Yeah, talked about the hard piece and truly understanding what it's like to, stay at home and spend your time, which seems to disappear pretty quickly on his, from what he was saying, and shared that out. And there was actually some really kind of, challenging parts of that about how he dealt with that as a male, right? And and sometimes the biases again around that. I think, Ash, really, really great. We're definitely seeing more of our employees, really, really appreciate the support they're given in that time. And we do help them settle back in, because it's not all, you get this time off, and then you've got to have other arrangements for your children. And that's not all roses, because, sometimes they go to daycare, they get they get
Yeah.
sick.
Yep.
The juggling that needs to happen. But we do offer support for parents when they come back around managing that as well.
Oh,
yeah, yeah, and I think that's as important, to be honest, as
Yeah.
the other side of it. It's when you come back and how you help people settle back in. Yeah, yeah.
It's that
Seems
structure when you come
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
We do see a lot more of our females working flexibly, I think. Look, a lot of males do as well, but I think it's we definitely see when the returning mums come back, they want a couple of days at home as well as maybe a couple in the office, and we will always encourage that and allow that to happen. Yeah, yeah.
And do you work flexibly yourself, Martina?
Yeah, I do. Well,
Tell
I worked
me
from home
more.
this morning.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah, I do. In my role as managing partner, I need to be with our clients a lot. Out with different CEOs and events and things like that. So I probably do spend more time out and about, but I probably don't spend that much time in the office. Which is just part of my role. But yes, I do. When my kids were younger, when I look back, I always worked at least one day at home. And I think, look, it's great. One day a week at home. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. In Perth, I think a lot of we are finding more people are back in the offies, and that's around team connection.
Yeah.
And
That's
sometimes
driven by
people
them.
do want to come to the office and not be from a whether it's gender equity or just that they love the connection
It's a
and what
community
that gives
feel
them.
that you get when you're at
And
work.
you've got an epic office, which helps.
We have a great office, and we offer free coffee
Far right, there
between
you
8
go.
and 12. And my God, it's buzzing. Yeah, I don't know, it might be the caffeine or it might be like the community
culture.
connection.
a little
right?
of both.
But it's
A little
really, come in, have a coffee. It's fabulous. It's beautiful coffee. Best coffee in Perth.
That's really.
I'm gonna have to test that.
You'll have to come in.
I'm a little bit of a
Yeah.
connoisseur, so I'm gonna have to test that.
Yeah.
That's very smart what you've done there. You've done your cost benefit analysis on that as well. And gone,
Yeah.
oh, I love it. Great work.
I know that you, just to take a little step back, I know that you said about the policy that you were part of and how you had pushback, and just a little bit in the conversation that we've had so far, it's like, there's good things, but there's also those kind of bumpy moments, and and there's also there's always going to be a little pushback with these things, and I know that people get kind of overwhelmed in this space where they're either starting or they're already on it, but they're facing some challenges. What advice can you give people when they're getting that kind of pushback, when they're getting they're on that kind of bumpy journey at the moment? How can people get through that? It's like the how,
The how, yeah. Well, look, for us, we just didn't take no as an answer
for an answer
in that moment, but it wasn't like that. And I think if there's pushback, it often isn't a straight no. It's a can we discuss it further, can we debate it further, can we have more information. So I think not taking like that setback personally and think you're not supported, and building the advocacy through other avenues you might have in your organization. I think that's really important if you want to get some policy changes through, and speaking to the right people about that and having the right information. So education is critical. So I think, in whether it's, as people are changing, some people are changing their flexible work. Like we've all roles flex. You can work from home. We have a policy where you can actually work overseas in 6.
It's in
16 different countries. You can go there on your holiday, spend time with your family if you're from an overseas location, and work there for so you can go for a month and then work for a period of time as well.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but what I am seeing, there are organizations that are changing their policy about being in the office and things like that. And again, I think, look, if that's not great for your organization, you know, have a voice, a speak up challenge. I think the culture now across business landscapes is certainly around that culture of challenge, constructive challenge, to various different things, and have that confidence to do so. Yeah. At PwC, we're embedding that into our culture as we move forward. So
culture is so important.
Yeah,
it's like you can do any kind of policy or any kind of initiative that you can or want, but if the culture isn't there, like, it won't stick. Like,
correct.
It'll just crumble. It's not sustainable when you do it that way.
Yeah.
So it's building that kind of foundation.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do hear like that there is like a little bit of resistance in this space at the minute, and like I said, I think most people, like, it doesn't come from a bad place. It maybe comes from like like they're just not aware, or they don't understand it, or they need some more information for it to click. But I want to kind of move on now to that. So you kind of have those people who sit in maybe like the resistor kind of bucket, which you need to work on, but the profile of gender equity has gone so high so quickly. And, what we're hearing is that kind of, people in their day-to-day lives, but especially who don't work directly in this space, are maybe feeling a wee bit like overwhelmed with, well, how can I possibly have an impact in this big social movement? So what would you say, like, what's some advice as to how everyday people can contribute to gender equity in their daily lives?
Yeah. I think having conversations with their friends and family, because that's where the debate occurs, and it's where you kind of learn to articulate the benefits of that. That's I would say, like, I've got 2 children, I've got a daughter and a son, and we have some great debates.
I love that. Bet. It's like you got to be involved in the difficult conversations, right? Like, you got to learn about them.
And how old are your kids?
22 and 20.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So really interesting conversations. But it's good, it's constructive, and and we agree to disagree on some things. But I think, look, as far as my children are concerned, it's important for me to have a voice, in a family environment, to have those conversations if I do think there are things that I need to kind of not be a bystander on, and and step in. So that's probably what, like, at the family level, they're like learning. I think learning.
Yeah, that's
right?
the biggest thing.
Like
it's a constant learning,
isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so much fabulous, the CEOs for gender equity, all the great information that you have on your website. I'd encourage people to look at like various different thought leadership that's there, and and have a voice then, right? At PwC, we've got what we call employee networks, right? And we've got they're across a few different elements that are important for people, and one of those is around gender equity. We call it symmetry.
What's the acronym here? I need to understand this.
It's just symmetry.
I thought it was an acronym for something.
No, it's
right.
I like
and
that.
It's really good. And we encourage, like, from our graduates when they start, and we do lean-in circles. We do like different International Women's Day events. We get great speakers in. So there's lots of and that's in the workplace, like the community that you can get involved in.
Yeah.
We also have one, we've got employee networks on Be Well. You know what that means for your families.
That's really cool. It's
there's
like an employee journey. It's like they're going through an experience and you're taking them on a journey and, you know, have a great experience while they're at work. That's really good. I like that.
And, you know, even beyond PwC, like people come to PwC, they train and they might take an opportunity somewhere else. And we feel like, you know, yes, we can develop them to be a great auditor, but also give them some other great skills, right? If it, you know, or a tax advisor, but it's equally as important when they leave PwC that they, you know, have had the opportunity to be involved and learn a bit more, whether it's, you know, our discussion today, gender equity.
You never know. You never know when people leave. It's like there's a high possibility that they might come back. And you want them to feel great when they leave, but knowing that, you know, this company really took care of me.
Exactly.
And you have you have an ally for life. Like they'll be an advocate for you. And, you know, business with business. It's like,
agree.
Yeah.
So there's a few there's a few things
practical.
there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Conversations, learning. And I love that you mentioned the learning, because again, that's a bit of a passion area for us, and we're looking at releasing like a bite-sized gender equity series, like 60 to 90-second videos, just breaking down like the key topics, you know, just to try and spread that word, because I feel like when people understand, you know, even like the difference between equity and equality, or what is the gender pay gap, you know, it's just a case of there's a lack of like just real straight talking, you know, just you know, really layperson's terms, communication about what these things are, and when people know it, they're like, oh yeah, okay,
because that's where the fear comes from.
I get it.
Like when they don't understand or don't know, and there's no clarity around it.
So and then you get we did some training on you know, breaking down gender biases, but around bystander, right? If you're a bystander, if you see something that might be inappropriate in the office, whether it's a conversation or whether it's an action, about how you step in to assist, like, and maybe stop a situation. And that's really important.
Love it.
As well.
Because the how, right?
It's
like
the
a lot of
how.
people know the what and
It's
the why,
the how.
but the how.
Yeah,
How
we have
do I do
compulsory
that?
training on that actually for everyone in the
That's
organization. And some of the videos, they're great. They actually, like, you go, oh, I've seen that happen in real life, right?
Perfect.
And whether it's like people standing with a glass of wine, and you know, and how you can come into a conversation if you kind of see a colleague that might be feeling a bit uncomfortable. So you know, it's those, you know, people learn in different ways, whether it's video, whether it's, you know, podcasts, whether it's bite-sized things, whether it's, you know, PhD papers, you know, people learn different ways. So it's offering all of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a move from the bystander to the upstander, right? Like, but I love, again, it's so practical. You're showing videos of real life scenarios so people can it helps them to kind of resonate with them. And if you give them some language or one-liners, like, people just love like the practical stuff, right?
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
I agree.
Like just action. I would say, what is like some advice that you can give to organizations, really? Like, what are those kinds of steps? That, you know, just, hey, watch out for this. Or it's, you know, especially for those smaller businesses as well, like that are on this journey in the beginning, and kind of like what to kind of look out for and what you guys have seen and foresaw. Yeah,
I think some of the really being purposeful about how you fill roles in your organization. So looking at trends from the past and then trying to address those. So I'll give you one example. When we used to employ graduates generally on a 50-50 basis. Now we know we lose more females, and whether it's because they go on to take a role somewhere else or so we generally aim to employ at a graduate level a percentage higher.
Clever.
So because we know from history what's happened, right, over the years, so that when we get to senior leadership roles, we actually have females to put forward, right?
Yeah.
So you have to plan through the journey of your organization, plan at it at the grassroots, right? So it doesn't, you know, what's the saying, you know, it doesn't change overnight, but it, you know, it does matter. Yeah,
Wow.
so I think really looking at your organization and where you want to be and making sure that you're planning for that at an early stage. That's probably one area. The other one that all the gender pay gap, right? And there's a lot of policy, across different industries. That's all public now with GEA publication. And that will be something that will be publicised annually. And with gender pay, you just want to pay all of your people fairly for the role that they do in an organisation. So there are ways like when you're going through annual review cycles with pay, making sure that you've got a D&I lens over that. And being strict about those policies, right? There's always someone on the edge or someone, you know, but you can, how you kind of roll that up into the organization and make sure at a senior leadership perspective that they are meeting what your what your KPIs are and what you've set for yourself. So I think there's, around the REM piece, and then over time that will show in your gender pay gap, right? So because it's purposeful, right? So it's really, you have to focus on that and do that over the longer term as well. So there's just, things, there's a few things there.
It's like what I've always been saying is you're planting seeds in trees that you'll never sit under the shade of, right?
Yeah.
So it's an investment. So it's making sure that you're building that foundation first and actually having that sustainable over time.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I also love the focus on fixing the system.
Yeah.
So you fix the system and the processes.
Yeah.
Because if you fix that, then it will kind of organically flow as well. So this has been absolutely fascinating, and we're going to have to ask you to come back, I think, for a second episode.
We got to talk about the dog. I'm very interested in the dog.
Rory.
But I want to just ask, before we do wrap up, what's next? What's next for you, or at PwC,
What's next? Oh, look, we've set a new strategy recently, and it's really about focusing on that as we go forward over the next number of years. And my role as the MMP, the managing partner for Perth, and how I can bring that to life, right?
Yeah.
So from a work perspective, that's certainly it. From a personal perspective, I'm heavily involved in a lot of community. I'm one of the commissioners of the Footy Commission, actually, who have a fabulous gender pay gap as well.
Really?
There's 50-50 representation of commissioners on the board, and that's for all the Aussie rules footy right across the state. But I'm passionate about. I love sport, and I'm spending some of my spare time now going to different games, and and I look after all the finance and funding side of that. It's a large organisation, and how that impacts the state more broadly. It impacts 300,000 people actually, because it's right down back down into the grassroots footy, right? So that's kind of my focus outside of work, is around our involvement in footy.
Nice.
And my son is playing in a finals for his football team on Saturday, and he's the captain, so I'm hoping he's going to win.
Your son, of course, he is.
Following his footsteps, a mom. All right.
So I love the footy.
And
It's
another
really
dog,
great.
right? I gotta get another dog.
I have spoken about it. I have spoken about another dog. So maybe my husband's not so keen.
Watch this space. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all your incredible work. Just over 50% female representation at PwC in Australia, 3.4% gender pay gap, which is very close to zero.
We're really proud of that. So we're neutral there. We're really we're really proud of that. We still have more work to do. It's not zero. So And so we have lots of work to do, and we've got to stay focused on
That's
it.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Making an impact.
I can't think of a better person to be, to be leading at the helm. And we really love, working with you at PwC, and look forward to learning and sharing and collaborating more on this really important topic.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Ash. And to the CEOs for Gender Equity, amazing. Thanks for this opportunity to share my story.
Yeah.
And we really look forward to continuing to work with you in the years to come.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
that concludes another episode of Voices of Gender Equity, real and raw stories of impact. I hope this conversation has sparked a passion, revealed new insights, and inspired you to take action in the pursuit of gender equity. Remember, change begins with each one of us. So until next time, keep raising your voice, keep championing equity, and keep making a difference. This is Ash McGrath signing off from Voices of Gender Equity, real and raw stories of impact.